Nature can be a beautiful, life-giving resource, or it can be a cruel force of change. Without that pressure to evolve, humanity would never have reached the heights we enjoy today. But as much as we owe our existence to the wilds of this wonderful planet, there's no denying that there are certain parts of the natural world, namely certain animals that have us shaking our heads going, wow, nature is scary. From disease-carrying arachnids to a fish with lethal levels of toxicity, here are 10 animals you should run from. Deer tick. Ticks, they're creepy, they're crawly, and they can carry fatal and chronic diseases. While their blood-sucking nature means that any species of ticks can carry disease, the tiny deer tick is the granddaddy of them all. Also known as blackhead ticks, these little suckers are well known for carrying Lyme disease, the potentially fatal anaplasmosis, and even the devastating Powassan virus. This deadly infection can take effect in as little as 15 minutes after the bite, and while not everyone will experience symptoms, those who do are in serious trouble. Up to 50% of victims end up with permanent neurological damage, and as many as 10% will die. There is no cure. To help avoid the risk of ticks, keep your grass in your yard short and always wear bug spray when you go outside. Golden poison frog. You might not imagine that a frog could be dangerous, especially one as small as the next contender on our list. But one touch of this tiny amphibian could prove fatal. The golden poison dart frog is tiny, cute, and absolutely lethal. Known as the most toxic poison dart frog in the world, this Colombian native contains enough poison in its body to be fatal to 15 to 20 full-grown humans, or up to 2 African elephants. In fact, just 1 gram of this poison can take out 15,000 human beings. Those unfortunate enough to come into accidental contact with one of these cute Kermits in the wild can look forward to sweating, violent nausea, and sudden heart failure. Thankfully, not only do their bright colors make them highly visible, you actually have to ingest the toxins or get their mucus into an open cut to suffer the effects. Blue-ringed octopus. The first time you see this miniature bright orange and blue bundle of squishy octopus cuteness, you might be tempted to think it would make a cool pet, but don't be fooled. Much like the humble bumblebee and poison dart frog, this mollusk's bright colors are a warning. The blue-ringed octopus is the deadliest octopus in the world. This adorable creature can deliver enough venom to be fatal to 26 people. Tetrodotoxin, the kind of poison it produces, is 1,000 times more powerful than cyanide and causes full-body paralysis that leads to respiratory and cardiac failure without immediate medical intervention. Of course, your best bet is to avoid the octopus altogether. But if you ever do come across one on the Australian coast, then give this beautiful octopus plenty of room. Inland taipan. In November of 2017, an Australian teenager was rushed to the hospital after he'd been bitten, not by a wild animal, but by his own pet snake. As you can imagine, his beloved reptile was no ball python or corn snake. This boy's pet was an inland taipan, one of the deadliest snakes in the world. Most snakes will eat anything they can fit in their mouths, but the inland taipan has evolved to exclusively hunt mammals. And this specialization has made it particularly deadly to all mammals, including humans. Its venom is a 2-part disaster of neurotoxins and hemotoxins. Essentially, it works to stop all muscle function while thinning the unfortunate victim's blood. Paralysis and internal bleeding quickly lead to fatal consequences without proper medical attention. If you find yourself coming across one in the wild, be sure to give this deadly reptile a wide berth. Woolly slug. If you live in the state of Texas, then chances are you've come across one of these tiny woolly swoops. The asp caterpillar, also called puss caterpillars, might look ridiculous, but if you happen to see one, it's in your best interest to leave it well alone. As hard as it may be to believe, this funky-looking bug is considered to be the most highly venomous caterpillar in the world. The adult asp moth is absolutely adorable, but one touch of its caterpillar stage and the unfortunate individual is bound for a world of pain. You see, each tiny hair on the caterpillar's body is like a miniature hypodermic needle, injecting venom so strong it sends shockwaves of pain that can last for up to 12 hours. Most people report an excruciatingly painful sting that's so powerful it makes your bones hurt. And some individuals will experience sweating, nausea, and chest pain. Just like with bees, there have been cases where the asp caterpillar sting has sent people into anaphylactic shock. All things considered, it's probably best to steer clear. Indian red scorpion. Named for the bright orange-red tip of its stinger, the Indian red scorpion is a highly venomous arachnid native to India. Called the deadliest scorpion in the world, this creature has an unfortunate habit of collecting around remote human settlements, so when someone gets stung, reaching help can be difficult or even impossible. It may only be a couple of inches long, but its potent venom causes sweating, nausea, cardiovascular collapse, and pulmonary edema. Basically, without immediate medical treatment, you're in for serious trouble. Death can come in as little as 72 hours for a healthy adult, but can set in far more quickly for the very old and very young. The good news is, if you can get to the hospital in time, there's a medication that can reduce your risk of death to only about 4%. But it's best not to tempt fate. To make your home less inviting for pretty much any species of scorpion, remove any trash and cut down the vegetation immediately around your house. Seal up any open vents and make sure to silicone or tape any cracks a scorpion could use to slip into your home. Cone snail. You might find yourself wondering how a snail made it to our list. After all, snails are slow, innocuous creatures that you might find in the garden or enjoy as a chewy delicacy in Paris. But the cone snail is not your average mollusk, and if you see the shell of one on the beach, you should never just pick it up. Normally, this predatory snail would only shoot its harpoon-like proboscis into fish, but it's not shy about defending itself. Add that to the fact that only a few hundredths of a milliliter of cone snail venom is enough to be fatal to 10 people, and it's clear that this just isn't the type of creature you want to mess with. But the deadliest part of a cone snail sting is the fact that you probably won't even feel it. This creature's neurotoxin venom has analgesic properties. Essentially, it numbs the site of injection, so you might not even realize you've been stung until it's too late. Symptoms can take hours or even days to appear. But once they do, you can expect excruciating pain, numbness, blurred vision, and even paralysis leading up to respiratory failure. Basically, if your reaction is bad enough, your body could just stop breathing, and there's no known antivenom. Amazonian giant centipede. Centipedes aren't exactly known for their calm, docile demeanor. But the Amazonian giant centipede is a grouchy, temperamental bug with a bite that really packs a punch. These little guys are fighters, although little isn't exactly the best way to describe them. Growing up to 12 inches long, these deadly creatures hunt tarantulas, lizards, and even bats. Thankfully, they have no intentions of turning human beings into a meal, but when cornered, their excruciatingly painful bite is accompanied by acute swelling, fever, and nausea. A few encounters have even ended up being fatal, including one case where the unfortunate individual was bitten in the throat, and the resulting swelling caused them to suffocate. While fatal cases are rare, it's best not to risk it. So, if you see one of these giant leggy bugs, you're better off giving it some space. Sydney funnel web spider. It probably won't surprise you that this contender on our list is from Australia. It seems like Down Under is full of creatures that just want to fatally wound you. And the funnel web spider is no exception. Unlike pretty much every other spider species, the male funnel web has 6 times the venom of a female. He also has an additional chemical in his venom that's particularly caustic to humans and other primates. To make matters worse, this isn't a spider that's going to run if you swat at it. He'll turn right around and fight. Funnel webs have a fast-acting neurotoxin that causes vomiting, confusion, muscle spasms, and brain swelling. Symptoms appear in as little as a few minutes, and without medical help in the first few hours, your chances of survival are practically non-existent. Thanks to the development of an effective antivenom, death by funnel web has become far less common. But it's still best not to tangle with this creepy crawly. So if you visit the outback, make sure you check your shoes and always watch where you're putting your hands. Stonefish. Stonefish are ugly, clumsy fish that can barely get around in their native watery habitat, so it would seem unlikely that they'd be much of a threat to anyone. But stepping on one is an experience that would send most of us crying to our mamas. Such a slow-moving fish has to defend itself somehow,